and welcome to Books Unbound, the podcast where we unbind books to get to their hearts with your hosts. Us, it's Ariel and
Raylene. Hola.
Sometimes those S's really get me.
You made it through.
Books Unbound, podcast where we unbind books to get to their hearts. It's a lot of S's, actually.
Yeah.
I remember actually early on in the podcast, I used to have to read that as a script.
Oh, yeah. I remember there were some funny times too where you would just couldn't get through it. And we released a bloopers somewhere. I can't remember what happened, but that bit was very funny.
There was a little bloopers where I just couldn't get through it. It was, and now it's like, I'm sure I murmur that in my sleep.
Yeah, you can never forget
books
it
get
now.
to their hearts. I love that little motto of ours. I think it's nice.
It's very nice.
We are excited to be here for this episode. We hope you're doing well. I'm pretty excited. I'm pretty jazzed, Raylene, because we've been having, well, actually, it's been a very cold week, but we've been having more sun. We've, obviously, we're a month past the equinox here in our northern hemisphere. And so the days are a little bit longer. And boy, does it make a difference.
Yeah.
Wow. The fact that there's a bit of light after 5 p.m., I'm like, it's all going to be okay.
Yeah. We made it through the dark period.
Yeah, we did kind of make it through the dark period. We haven't made it through the cold period. Like, obviously, January and February are the coldest months. Mm-hmm. But that's okay. That's okay. We've got... Actually, don't mind if I do. I'll lean down here for a second, Raylene.
She's gone.
I got some new slippies.
Ooh.
Look at my little slippers. They're so cute. They have for everyone that's listening to the audio version, they're a teal baby blue color, and they have embroidered birds on the front. Little chickadees. Obsessed with that.
They look like the type of slippers you'd bring to a cabin if you were going to go
Yes!
read in a cabin with
Completely
with a fire.
Agree.
That's what
completely agree.
Yeah.
That's when I saw them, and I don't know if anyone else got that Instagram targeted ad. Damn it, they got me good. They were having some sort of big clearance sale, and I was like, wait, I actually have been thinking a lot about slippers and looking into slippers. And I think that the reason I got this targeted ad was because I was on this website months ago. Like, basically, God, I'm sorry to go down this rabbit hole, but we're here now. I was talking to Connor's uncle. We were at his house during Christmas. Okay. And he had the nicest slippers I've ever seen.
Wow. And
they were kind of like almost like a boat shoe. Do you know that style of slipper where it's like a leathery, beautiful. And he was like, I replace these every 3-4 years from the same company. It was this company. I'm just not saying their name because I don't know, whatever. No, they're not sponsoring us. They don't need this promo. But I was like, oh, okay, that's good to know that brand makes good slippers. Mm-hmm. But maybe now I'm gatekeeping. It's LL Bean, okay? Secret's out. It's LL Bean. Anyways, I started looking and I was like, wow, these are nice slippers. But because they're so nice, they're expensive, right? Anyways, about 2 weeks ago, I got a targeted ad on Instagram, and I was like, they're on sale! Sign me up.
Well, I'm happy for you. My feet are cold, so if that makes you feel better. I need some slippers.
You need some slippies.
Yeah, all I have is Crocs. Usually I just wear Crocs around the house.
Crocs are good. They are a good house shoe. What color of Croc are you?
They are lavender.
Yes,
purple.
Very good, very good, very good. Another one of my best friends, Claire. Sorry, clarify. This is for some reason giving out personal information. She also has lavender Crocs as her house shoe, and I think it's very nice.
It is very nice.
I love it. Very nice. Well, slippies aside, actually, I'm gonna keep going on this rabbit hole. Really, I have another pair of shoes on its way. I felt crazy. I currently have 3 pairs of shoes coming to me. Okay, and I literally, it was late at night, and I turned to Connor and I was like, I feel crazy. He was like, what's the matter? And I was like, I'm tracking 3 different pairs of shoes. And he even was like, why? He was concerned, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, please let me explain and tell me if you think I'm crazy. He's like, okay, let's go. The first one, wore the slippies.
Of course.
And he was like, that's totally fine. You have been talking about them for months. And I've been wanting to get slippers for months, especially ones that have soles, because my feet hurt. So there, and I'm cold. So it was like, perfect. He's like, reasonable. No problem. What is the second one? Wedding shoes. I bought my wedding shoes. I was wondering
if that's what it was going to be.
Ooh, yes! That's exciting. I bought my wedding shoes. And they have a 30-day return window, so I don't want to fully commit. I don't want to say what they are because I have to try them on, and unfortunately the store that I bought them from does not exist in Nova Scotia, so I couldn't go and try them on. So I ordered them. I really have a good feeling about them. I love them. But he was like, well, that's completely reasonable too. You need those. You need a wedding shoe. And he was like, what's the third shoe? And I was like, Mary Jane Doc Martens. He was like, you don't need those. And I was like, no, that was an impulse. And he said, okay, how about this? I will pay for them, and that will be your anniversary present. Aww. And I was like, woohoo!
Win, win, win.
So anyways, I feel shoe crazy. I've never had so many shoes up. But
that's wild. I do that with books. Like, I often have times where I'm like, oops, what have I done? But like, shoes is so specific and different.
It feels crazy, doesn't it? It feels crazy. But you know what? It's a new era. It's a new era of shoe wear for old Ariel over here. I think I can't buy any more shoes this year, though, basically. Like, I feel like I bought all the shoes for the year at the beginning of the year.
Yeah. I think you might have.
I think I did. It's kind of good. Got it out of the way. Big check mark on shoes.
Yep.
All right. We've been busy this last week, Raylene and I.
Yep.
And actually, Raylene, I feel like both of our anecdotes will lead to our hauls. Because I know what you did led to your haul, and I just looking at my pile, I can do the same as you. But you start us off first, please, and let us tell us your journey.
Yes. So over the past 4 days or so, like I just got back yesterday. For about 4 days, I actually went home. I went to BC, my homeland, and it was really nice because it's only been, just for context, it's only been 2 months since we moved to Calgary, but it was my mom's birthday a few days ago, and I was like, oh, it would be really nice to go see her. And like, I had crocheted her this massive star blanket, and I was going to ship it to her for Christmas, but there was, of course, all the issues with the strike, and it would have cost me like a lot of money just to ship it. And so I was like, it might be more fun if I just go visit and bring it with me. And so that was kind of like the main purpose for the trip. But then I got to spend like 2 days with my friends, and then I kind of spent 2 days with my mom and my brother, which was really nice. So that was like the trip. It was kind of fast and furious. Like, I wasn't there for very long, but it was nice because I didn't have to really miss much work because I actually went into the office on Friday, which was funny.
I think that's awesome.
Yeah, me and my friends all took the Thursday off, and so that kind of starts my journey and my haul here. So the first mission of the day was to go to a bunch of thrift stores because we just love thrifting, and I was like, okay, well, I'm just kind of looking for books. I was also looking for jeans because I only have one pair of jeans and they are no longer wearable, full of holes in all the wrong places, if you know what I mean. And so I was looking for jeans. I found the jeans, so that's one thing. But I also, at the first
what color jean are we talking?
They're like not black, but like an off black, I guess, like a kind of like a faded black. That's my jean vibe. I don't really wear blue jeans.
That's what I imagined that you bought, because that's like your main pant.
That's what I had before, and I just found something to replace them that are even nicer than the last thrifted jeans I had, so that was good. So I found my pants, and I also found Notes from a Young Black Chef by Kwame Onwuachi with Joshua David Stein. So this is a chef memoir. Woo, surprise, surprise. And I've actually been kind of hunting for this one for a long time because it just seems like a cool memoir, and I don't really know much about the author, but I was looking into him just before we started recording here, and he seems to have had a very interesting life. By the time he was 27, he had like opened a huge restaurant and it already got shut down, and then he opened up another restaurant, another one. Like, he's opened a few restaurants. He was on Iron Chef, I think. Oh no, Top Chef. So he's like just done a bunch of things, and he's like grappling with being famous and also with being a chef and whatever. And so I think that this just sounds really cool. So I picked it up. I was also very mad. My friend Rebecca found a copy of I, Robot by Isaac Asimov in the exact edition I want. And she found it before me.
Is it the green one?
No, it's like a newish one that came out a few years ago that's like dark gray and red, and it's very cool. Anyway, I was really mad that she found that, but I was happy because I at least found a book of my own.
That is one of the movie lines that I quote the most.
Oh, really?
From I, Robot. I don't even remember watching that movie. I don't remember the movie.
Yeah.
But I have a line that Will Smith says implanted in my brain.
What is it?
He says, I miss the good old days when people were killed by other people.
I mean, I think we're going to have to remember that for the future, you know? Times are coming.
Oh,
That's really funny. I've never once heard you say that, but I believe that you say it all the time. Like
I say it all the time.
I fully believe you. You've just never had a reason to say that to me, I guess.
Not to you yet, but
no,
now.
not to me.
Yeah.
Not to me.
Yep.
But yeah, so the day that we went thrifting, we like went to a bunch of different places. I think we went to 3 or 4 different thrift shops, and then we were like, my God, am I ever hungry? And we also realized we've been friends for like probably 8 to 10 years, the 3 of us, and we've never gone out to eat together because we're just like we're weird cheapos who like we just like to snack at home. Like
you guys have so many amazing elaborate picnics.
I know. We do make our own feasts.
Yes.
But we were like, wait, we've never just gone like to a restaurant or a pub.
So
like we've gone to cafes together and like eaten food at cafes, but that doesn't count. So anyway, so we were like, we only have 2 days together. Let's go get sushi.
That's so cute.
And so we went and got sushi at one of our favorite sushi restaurants. And this is important because when we sat down, there was a young woman sitting at the table next to us, and she was reading The Blue Castle by L.M. Montgomery. And I saw it and was like, and I was like, don't be weird. Don't be weird. Just like, I don't love that book. Like my friend loves that book. So I didn't want to like be weird and like go into this whole thing. But as we were like halfway through eating, Julia kind of looked over at her and said, oh, isn't that book amazing? And the girl was like, oh yeah, it's really amazing. And then I said to Julia, oh yeah, Ariel loves that book. And then the young lady kind of looked over at me and she said, wait a minute, are you Raylene?
Oh my God.
And I just had to mention it because it was such a weird coincidence. And it was because I said your name that Allison, as her name was, God. We chatted for a little bit. It was a really lovely encounter. And I just wanted to say hi, Allison.
That's unbelievable. Wait, so was she reading the book because of the pod?
I would assume so. We didn't get too into it. But
crazy.
I would assume so. It was
That's
great.
so cool. Oh my God.
Yeah.
As if you see someone reading The Blue Castle and it's because I talked about it on the pod.
It was such a Books Unbound in the wild moment that I never expected to experience. And then both my friends were like, oh my God,
cool.
what? You're like famous. And I was like, no, I'm not. I just talk about books a lot.
That's so cool. Also, God, I was thinking the other day I should reread The Blue Castle, and that feels like a sign that I should.
I think you should. Allison was trying to speak to you from across the country. Okay.
Yeah, coast to coast.
Coast to coast, baby. Yeah, I was back on the coast finally, so it was a true moment, a true beautiful moment.
That's so cool.
Yeah, but then after we were done our sushi feast, we also went to our local used bookstore that I always, ask for them to look for books for me. And so they had a few books for me that I've just been like over the past couple of weeks, like they'll find something, I'll pay for it and be like, all right, I'll be there in a few weeks. And so I had a few books to pick up there, but I also found a book while I was there. So I'll start with that one because it's exciting. Tender is the Night by F. Scott Fitzgerald.
That's huge.
And it's a really cool little green copy, which is actually perfect. If I read it this year, it can be my green book for my Shrek bingo. But yeah, this is huge. And scary for a lot of reasons because as you guys know, I am deeply obsessed with The Great Gatsby. I collect copies of it. I have over 40 copies of it and I've read it multiple times and I just love it so much. So I've never read another book by F. Scott Fitzgerald.
Yeah, that's
because I'm like just scared I'm not gonna like it at all. I'm just like, is The Great Gatsby just a one-off for me? And maybe it is, and if it is, that's also fine. But because of that, I've just been putting him off for a long time.
Yeah.
But I was digging through a drawer of classics, and I was like, oh, this is such a cool edition, and so I didn't want to leave it behind. It also has really good. Not flop necessarily, but like it has a good feel to it. I don't know how to explain it.
Good feel.
But yeah, this is a Penguin Popular Classics edition, and apparently it's made out of 100% recycled paper, so that's very cool.
Incredible.
So
incredible.
That was my super good find there.
Who is the publisher?
Penguin.
Oh, it's just a Penguin. Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah, Penguin Popular Classics. I could probably find out when the specific one was made. Yeah, the paper does feel very nice. Maybe I just love recycled paper.
I think it's very strange that they would publish that book. It was Tender is the Night, right?
Yeah.
Tender is the Night. And be like proud of the fact that it's an eco copy. Thus, prove it. They have the ability to print books on eco paper and recycled paper. Then why don't they do that for all of their books?
Ooh. Great question. Yeah, this one, it says 1997 is when this specific edition was published. If anybody
97?
Yeah.
They've had eco paper technology for the last 30 years? What?
I shouldn't have mentioned it. It's starting the whole thing.
All right. I'll look into that later.
Okay, moving on. So there were a few books that I had to pick up there, as I mentioned, and two of them, actually no, all of these were fully influenced by listeners of this podcast. So I don't necessarily know a lot about these, but you guys convinced me with like one sentence that I need to buy them, and so I did. So the first one is Luck in the Shadows by Lynn Flewelling, which is the first book in a fantasy series that I had never heard of. And one or two people commented on my video where I did my my bookstore day, because I asked for recommendations. So that video has like so many good comments on it with just recommendations for books. But this, what is this about? A young Alec of Carey is taken prisoner for a crime he didn't commit. He is certain that his life is at an end. Ooh, spy, rogue, thief, and noble is another character. Yeah, like it just sounds like a fun adventure. Cool. Yeah. But I don't really know anything about it, so we'll put that boy aside. Here's this next one people are going to be very excited about. A lot of people were screaming at me to get this book. The Lies of Loch Lamora by Scott Litch. And similarly to the Robin Hobb, I kind of have a dark history with this book. But it's not for the exact same reasons. I started reading this once and read like 75 pages and was like, meh. And then I put it down and never thought about it again. But this is my time to give it another chance. And this one is kind of like Six of Crows-ish. Like it's like about a gang of people who are like doing some kind of heist. And I don't know anything about it other than that. But it is a series as well. So if I get into it, there's another series for me. And then the last book I got at that store is Run Towards the Danger by Sarah Polley. And this is a kind of like essay collection / memoir. A bunch of people recommended to me. She is like an actress and director, so it's kind of like in the biz, but it's not fully about that. It's kind of just like about a whole bunch of things and like connecting things in her life to memory. And like I think she had a really bad concussion, and so she was having to kind of like think back on things and try and like repair her memory and stuff. So I think it just sounds really, really, really good. I'm really glad that people recommended that, because I had never heard of it.
Oh, okay. Did you see Women Talking, her big movie?
No,
me neither. I don't feel like a lot of people did.
I definitely will watch that one day, I'm sure. If I read this book, I'm sure it'll convince me to read that. Or to watch it.
I mean, it had so many people that we like in it and stuff. Like, Rooney Mara.
I was going to say Rooney Mara, right? I love her. She's fantastic.
Yeah, that's cool. Well, I'll be curious to hear, because obviously she's Canadian as well, so I'll be curious to hear what you think of that one.
Yes, so I'm really hyped about that. And then the next 3 books, so I'll try and keep this brief, but I also specifically went out to BC to be with my friends so that we could celebrate a Sabbath together, because one of the greatest sadnesses in my friend group is they're like, we're never going to be able to celebrate anything again because you're gone. And I was like, guys, I'll come back. Like... I'm gonna be here sometimes. And so Imbolc is kind of like the first Sabbath that started our whole Sabbath journey last year. Cute. And that is the one where it's like, winter is turning into spring and kind of new beginnings and everything. And so it's like my favorite Sabbath. Like a lot of things about it just really speak to me. And so I was like, it would be really nice for me to come for this one specifically. So we got together, we had a big feast, that's pretty much all we did. We sit around and chat and we eat and we drink and we have a good time and we go for walks and it's just lovely. But we also always like to like make something for our costume, sort of. And so I made myself a Scooty, which is another pattern. I can't share it because you have to buy it, but I'll share a link to where you can buy it. It's really, really cool. It's like a hood with a scarf attached to it, which sounds like it could be really weird. And when I first put it on, I was like, I don't know about this, but I actually really loved it. And I ended up giving it to my friend Rebecca, which is why I'm not showing it to you now, but I'm going to make another one. So I'll show it to you guys next time I make one. So yeah, it was just lots of fun. And they actually gave me some presents as well, because I left before my birthday. And therefore I missed my birthday and Christmas. And so my friends gave me a bunch of like handmade gifts, but I also got a couple of books. So without further ado, here's those books.
Here we go.
So I got Sabriel by Garth Nix, which a lot of people have also been yelling at me to read. And this is one that I've been like hunting for, but the bookstore didn't have it. And luckily Rebecca said this is her copy. She just gave it to me. And now she's like jealous that I own it, which is funny.
That's so funny.
You're a goofball. You're a goofball. But yeah, this one, I don't know too much about this either. I think it might involve like a magical school, or that might be a different that might be a different book. I've been recommended so many fantasy books in the past few weeks that I can't keep them straight. But I'm definitely like hyped about that one. I've been hearing about it for many, many years now. And then I also got Daughter of the Forest by Juliette Marillier. And this one is kind of like fairy tale-esque. Like the main character is this girl. She's the 7th child and only daughter of this like lord. And so she just has 6 older brothers. And I don't know, that sounds like a fairy tale, but I don't really know much about the plot beyond that. But this is another one I've been like considering reading for a long time. So glad to finally have that. And then this next one is kind of random, but I'm hyped about it as well. I probably won't read it for years. But that is The Portable 60s Reader from Penguin Classics, and it is edited with an introduction by Anne Charters. So it's just like this giant kind of like compendium of like everything important that happened in the 60s. So it's like this really massive book. And I don't know if there's like a mixture of fiction in here. I think it might mostly be nonfiction, but I honestly don't know. It looks like there's poetry in here almost. Like it seems like it's just an anthology of a decade. So there's like a lot in there, which is really cool. So that was a cool, all 3 of those were gifts from Rebecca. And now I want to see if there's a portable 70s reader. Because if so, I might have to like buy that new because I really want that too. Yes, next up on my things that I did over the weekend was hang out with my brother a lot, which was really cool.
Nice. Great.
And we mostly just like went for walks because, as you mentioned, like the weather has been beautiful. And it's like same here in Calgary. It was the same in BC. Like it's cold, but the sky is blue. The air is crisp, and like it was just so nice. And so we just kept going for walks, and so it was really nice to just like hang out with him and chat. But then we also spent a lot of time playing Mario Party because that has become my new obsession, and we've been playing it over Discord, like just chatting with each other online. But it was fun to really like play it together in person. And so we played the longest game possible, which is 30 turns, and all in all probably took us about 5 hours to play.
Wow.
But it was lots of fun. So yeah, it was great. And I did manage to get a couple more books though right before I left, because I actually got an email from the bookstore like the day before yesterday saying, we found another book for you. And I was like, are you kidding me? I was just there 2 days ago. But what I ended up getting is The Decagon House Murders by Yukito Ayatsuji, which is kind of like a cult classic Japanese murder mystery book. And I think there's a sequel now too, actually. And this, it even says on the back that it's inspired by Agatha Christie's And Then There Were None. And it's like, takes place on an island. And I was looking at the table of contents, and it's cool. It's like day 1 on the island. And then the next chapter is day 1 on the mainland. And so there's like 2 separate timelines going on. And I'm just so excited about that. Like that just sounds so good. And then the last book I got is The Idiot by Elif Batuman. Do you have this book?
I used to. I unhauled that one.
Yeah, this is one that I've been like pondering for over the past few years. I'm like, do I want to read that? It. I don't know if I want to read that, but I don't know. I must have read a review that convinced me I wanted to read it because I decided I wanted it. It does sound really cool. It's set in 1995, like at Harvard. Cool. So yeah, it's set in 1995 at Harvard, and that's all I really know about it. It was a finalist for the Pulitzer Prize, apparently, or I guess the author was. So yes, that is my haul, and it was very difficult fitting it all in my suitcase, but I managed to do it, and I'm very proud of myself.
Woohoo! I love that you're leaning into the fantasy bug, and I think, here's my opinion, really. I think that when you're like excited about a new genre, buying books in that genre actually is so exciting, even though you're not going to read them all. Yeah. Having like this exciting selection to pick from actually makes it like more fun to be like, okay, well now I have more choices, and like, my mood can have a little bit more space.
Yeah, totally. Because when the bug first bit me a couple of weeks ago, I didn't have any fantasy books. And so like I wanted to read one, but I didn't have any, and it was like awful. It was just awful. So yeah, I agree with you. It is nice to have a good variety now. I'm excited.
I love that. Okay, well, I also have a bit of a haul because I also went on a little trip. I mean, you had a bigger trip, but I went for a few days to Lunenburg, my favorite town in Nova Scotia, because it was me and Connor's 6th anniversary.
Oh my gosh.
Which is crazy. 6 years. And we got engaged last anniversary. Yeah. So it's just crazy that we've been engaged for an entire year.
Yeah, that year flew by. I feel
like. That year flew by. I agree. A lot happened, but it was wow. Awesome. Awesome. I always wanted a long engagement. I don't know why. That always just seemed like a fun
You and I talked about that a lot. When I was engaged for like 2 years or something, and you were like, that's fine. Just do it. And
like I think a long engagement it's a fun phase of your relationship, and like obviously like once you get married, you're not going to get engaged again. Yeah. Like to the same person. And so, well, probably not. I guess you could. But probably not. And so it's kind of like enjoy that phase. But anyways, yeah, we had our anniversary. We just did what we always like to do, which is go to an Airbnb and chill. Mm-hmm. We just read a lot. And actually, this we've been doing every year as well. We always watch some of the Oscar Best Picture nominations because they always get announced the week before our anniversary, and then we can just watch one or two. I remember last year we watched Past Lives and I was so angry. This year we watched Conclave and The Substance. Ooh, and I will be reviewing both of those in our bonus app, and I have a lot to say.
I'm excited to hear what you have to say.
Have you seen The Substance?
Not yet. Like I'm surprised that you watched that.
First of all, me too. Second of all, I'll just go ahead and say I don't recommend it, but I go into a lot of detail after the show.
I'm excited to hear everything.
So because of that, the only other really thing that we do is we eat. Like we go to restaurants and enjoy like food, but then we also go book shopping. And I got some pretty cool stuff. Okay, this first one, Earth Angel by Madeline Cash. Have you heard of this one?
Looks cool. Is it actually old or does it just look like that?
It just looks old, but it came out last year. Yeah, it's got a great look. In her electric debut, Madeline Cash synthesizes the godlessness of a digital age into a glimmering, sublime, life-affirming collage of stories. So it's a really tiny collection of short stories. A lot of people I found were recommending it in like comments and stuff, but then also I just happened to see a bunch of people talking about it online, and I was like, you know what? I'm curious. You got me. I'm curious. Okay, I opened up to the first line. In fact, I'll read the first line of everything. Here we go. The story is called Plagues. First, it was frogs, then locusts, then remote aerial drone strikes. Great first line. Love that. Mm-hmm. Fantastic. Okay, this next book that I got,
why the hesitation, Ariel?
No, I'm hesitating because, first of all, the light is bothering me. The sun keeps coming in and out, and I'm, like, trying to battle talking to you and making sure the filming looks good. But, like, okay, Raylene, here's what's funny about this book. I bought it. I was like, this is so cool. I can't wait to tell Raylene about this, which is a thought I have with every book I buy. I'm like, can't wait to tell Raylene. And then I went on Instagram, and on the Books Unbound Instagram, you had posted a big gallery of books you almost bought. Ooh, and this was on there. And I was like, oh, she already knows about this and thought about buying it. I got Exit Interview.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so it's funny because you obviously know all about this. You picked it up.
Yeah.
So the subtitle is The Life and Death of My Ambitious Career by Christy Coulter. And basically it's about a woman who in 2006 left a job that she kind of was bored of to join this new big fast growing Amazon. And she works there for over a decade and then eventually quits because she like doesn't believe in what Amazon has become. And this is a memoir of that time. It sounds great.
Awesome. Yeah.
Sounds really cool. I also found that it like my library has it as an audiobook read by her. Ooh. And I was like, that's also very tempting.
Yeah.
So I might listen to this on audio with the physical copy.
Cool.
But this kind of reminds me of Not Saving Time by Jenny Odell, the one that I like. What's the one that I like?
How to Do Nothing, or is that the other Jenny?
Awful. Yeah, no, it's totally. Yeah. How to Do Nothing, which I loved, but was also kind of about exploring. Like, and I read Uncanny Valley. Do you remember that one?
Yep.
That was like, anyway. So it's a genre that is always very interesting. And you and I both love reading books about women at work. Mm-hmm. Often translated from the Japanese.
It's true.
Apparently that is like a huge genre over there. But I think it also does map onto memoirs and like women talking about their work lives. Absolutely. Is very fascinating. All right, this next one I was so excited to get. It is Secondhand Love by Yamada Murasaki. So I don't know if you remember, but I got her book, and it might have been last year at my anniversary, or it was 2 years ago on my anniversary. But she did Talk to My Back, which was another compilation of her art. She did a lot of this style of drawing and these comics, manga, in the 80s in Japan. Which is so cool. So it's really, really cool that they're all being republished, and her artwork is just so beautiful, and her themes are always about women and juggling motherhood and like young women, how like isolated and lonely they are while their men are off, like while their husbands are off working, they're at home alone, and trying to be mothers, and like often they had jobs that they had to quit because they're not allowed to do both or whatever. And so it's really great and interesting subgenre. I loved the first one, so I'm excited for this one.
Awesome.
Next up, Young Man with a Horn by Dorothy Baker. Have you heard of this one?
I don't think so, but I love it. I love the cover too.
Yeah, it's a great cover. So this is basically known as the first jazz novel. Like it's like the first novel that really explored the world of jazz. It's very interesting. It sounds great, and I bought it for the book truck because I did an event when I was in Halifax, because when I did that event, it was during Jazz Fest in Halifax. And so I bought it for the truck, and I bought a couple other jazz books, which was really fun to have jazz books during Jazz Fest, right? I then bought this for a friend who was a jazz musician for his birthday or for Christmas, and he started reading it. He was telling me that it's amazing. Yeah. And then I decided to give it to somebody, to Connor's dad for Christmas, but it didn't come in time. So this was it got delivered to the bookshop, and I was like, I'm going to keep it.
I love that.
I'm going to keep that book. So I ended up getting this copy for myself, and I'm pretty excited about it. It sounds really, really good. I don't know anything about Dorothy Baker, but she sounds cool. All the reviews I was reading were amazing, which is exciting.
Nice.
All right. The next two books that I have are boat books.
Oh my God. I'm expanding my fantasy, and you're expanding your boat books.
I'm expanding boats. The first one is Men of War by Patrick O'Brien. Look at how beautiful this book is, Ray. Wow.
I love that. I've never seen that one before.
It's so, so beautiful. So on the, it's a very slim novel. It's book. It's a very slim little book. It's dark navy blue. Get it? Navy. And with a gold atlas printed on gold leaf. It's such a pretty book. And it says, what was daily life in Nelson's Navy really like for everyone from the captain down to the rawest recruit? What did they eat? What songs did they sing? What was the schedule of watches? How were they paid? And what was the division of prize money to officers and crew? These questions and many more are answered in Patrick O'Brien's elegant narrative, which includes wonderful anecdotal material on the battles and commanders that established Britain's naval supremacy. So it's very fascinating, kind of answering big questions about how the Navy worked, which is fascinating. I don't know anything about naval history. That's really
cool. Yeah, I didn't know that he had written that book. My friend Rebecca is obsessed with Master and Commander and the whole series. She's been deeply obsessed with it for the past few months, and so I'll have to let her know about that guy. If she doesn't know about
I
it.
can really see myself going down a Master and Commander hole because I love the movie. The movie's so good. This also reminded me that I instantly stopped reading the first line, and I'm going to go back to doing that now. Introduction. Since Britain is an island, it has always needed a navy to keep enemies from coming over the sea to invade it. Actually, a fascinating point. Yeah. Why do they have such a navy? Because they're a little island.
They're just a little island.
Okay, Young Man with a Horn. In the first place, maybe he shouldn't have got himself mixed up. Oh, I can't say that word on camera. That's okay. It's an interesting first line. That's so funny. It's a historical document. Also written by a Black woman, so we'll keep that in context. Yeah. All right. Secondhand Love, Blue Flames. It's a collection of, I think, 3 short stories. Mm-hmm. Okay, the first line is, I've been dumped.
Ooh.
Fantastic. Love it. Exit interview. That's so funny that I was like, I'm going to read the first line, and did not.
And then just didn't do it at all.
I can tell people don't believe me when I say my coworkers kept bottles of booze on their desks, or that they sometimes popped beta blockers before meeting with Jeff Bezos, or that I found out about the Kindle and the drones and Whole Foods on the internet like everyone else.
Oh, that sounds so good.
That's exciting, isn't it?
That's a great first line.
That is a good first line. All right, my next book that I got, another boat book. I couldn't help myself.
Okay.
Journey with Caravel by Fred Carlisle. It's a vintage, beautiful, old copy of this book.
Love it.
Let's see when this was published. I think it was the 70s? 71.
Nice.
Printed in Canada, it says. It's very niche because I looked for reviews online and stuff, and I found one on a blog that clearly hasn't been looked at in a really long time. But it's like the formatting is all broken because of the modern internet.
Oh boy,
you know what I mean?
yeah. So nobody's reading this book.
No, and it sounds fantastic though.
Yeah.
It's about this man who retires. In November 1965, Fred Carlisle, his wife, and 2 small daughters embarked on a cruise in a trimaran. Now, I don't know how to pronounce that name of that boat because I'm not a boat girl yet, but I'm becoming one.
Learn. Yep.
During that time, sturdy Caravel 2 was their home and carried them twice across the Atlantic and from the Mediterranean and Caribbean seas. From Toronto, they headed and on they go. So it's a memoir from a guy who took his daughters and his wife to the ocean.
To the sea.
Incredible. Incredible. Let's see. Prologue. It is fashionable these days to argue that the spirit of Cook and Eric the Red, of Drake and Magellan, of the explorers of the Middle Ages, and the sea dogs who came after them is dead. So exciting. Sea dogs, by the way, I've been running into this term a lot.
Oh, interesting.
It's one of those things like frequency illusion. Once you learn about a phrase, then you suddenly start seeing it everywhere. Mm-hmm. And I do live in Nova Scotia. We are a boat people.
That's true.
And so now I keep running into the term sea dogs, and I'm obsessed with it. Okay, that's the beginning of the prologue. The beginning of the actual book is, the decision to retire was, as I recall, originally taken some 15 minutes after I left school and started work in a dingy wholesale grocery office in Liverpool, England, back in the depths of the Depression. That's fascinating, because, yeah, if he retired in 1965, he would have been working during the war and stuff. Oh man, the implications. I didn't even think about that. I'm fascinated. It sounds so good. So I was in the shop and I read the first few pages of the book and I was like, I love it as an object. It sounds great. And then I was like, I don't know, this is such a random choice. I was like, I'll just flip to a random page, and if that random page is gripping, then I'll buy it. If it's boring, then I'm not getting it.
Wow.
So I flipped to a random page, and the scene, I only read a paragraph. The scene was he's crawling back to get to where the steering is.
Oh my gosh.
And his daughter can tell that he's all messed up, and he goes below deck to where the rest of his family are.
Yeah.
And he has to tell them that he has lost his thumb and his index finger.
Ah!
And I was like, I'm buying this book!
Yeah, it's not just we went out to sea and here we played with the sails. We did,
no.
It was no, shit happened out there.
Stuff went down on the big blue ocean.
Whoa, Nelly, that's
very
terrifying.
Scary, but very exciting. Actually, I just realized the final book that I'm going to talk about is also a boat book.
Oh my gosh.
What happened, really? You get a theme. You dive right in.
Yep.
This was one that a few people recommended both of us.
Oh.
I think on our YouTube comments, but I think also maybe on the Discord.
Okay.
And it is Eat Like a Fish by Bren Smith.
Yeah, I remember that one.
So this one, Bren Smith is a former commercial fisherman turned ocean farmer who pioneered the development of restorative 3D ocean farming. Born and raised in Newfoundland.
Ooh. Ooh.
It says, in Eat Like a Fish, Bren Smith shares a bold new vision for the future of food. Seaweed. Part memoir, part manifesto, through tales that span from his childhood in Newfoundland to his years on the high seas, aboard commercial fishing trawlers, from pioneering new forms of ocean farming to surfing the frontiers of the food movement. Smith introduces the world of sea-based agriculture and advocates getting ocean vegetables onto American plates. So, the reason that people were recommending it to us is because it's a boat book and a food book.
Right,
and you're into food books and I'm into boat books, so it was kind of hitting both of our
awesome.
Both of our interests there. Let's see about this first line. Lot of pages at the beginning, I'll tell you that right now. A lot of flipping going on. Okay. Introduction. I am a restorative ocean farmer. All right. Not the best first line. In fact, perhaps the worst one. That's okay. That's the introduction. Let's give chapter 1 a shot. I think that's only fair. Chapter 1. I was born in Maddox Cove, a Newfoundland outport, bolted to the easternmost rocks of North America. Better, but very similar, actually.
This like is who I am.
I am this. It's like, okay. So there you go. I'm a boat girl now. I'm all about boats and boat culture. And I'm really excited to learn a lot more about boats. And yeah, I think it's very, very fascinating. So that's my haul.
Yay, exciting stuff.
I had a really fun weekend with Connor at our Airbnb. And like, it's really funny having your anniversary in January because everything's closed. Especially in like a little tourist town, like everything's closed, but we love that actually because it's just very sleepy and like we just go and it's very relaxing, which is really nice.
That sounds nice. That for some reason you saying all of that just reminded me of the book Winter in Sokcho. Have you read that yet?
I haven't, and it has been on. I was looking at it the other day actually.
Next anniversary. If you haven't read it by your next anniversary, I would recommend that you read it then.
Okay,
it'll perfectly fit the vibe of where you are.
Ooh, okay, that's very cool.
Yeah.
All right. So largely this week was about buying books, we'll admit. But now let's talk about what we're reading. How about you start us off, Ray?
Yeah, so this week I kind of like turned my reading in a little bit of a 180. So like last week I was reading Six of Crows. I'm just going to put it out there. I've just put it down temporarily. I'm not in the mood for it right now. I went away on my trip and I was like, you know what? I think I just want to really read something else. It was partially because I couldn't bring it with me because I didn't want to bring any books with me because I knew I was going to come back with a lot of books and I couldn't get it on my e-reader in time from the library. Ironically, it showed up today. It's now available today. But anyways, long story short, I decided to read something else for the flight. And so I started actually listening to an audiobook of this book called Cue the Sun, The Invention of Reality TV, which is by Emily Nussbaum.
Ooh.
And this book came out last year, actually, so it's fairly new still. And it's literally just like a really extensive history of like, how did reality TV come to be? And so like she kind of goes through and is like, okay, well, there was this one show in the 50s that like involved the audience a little bit. And like that was kind of like the beginning. And then there was this other show and then there was this other. And so it's been very interesting to listen to actually because she really like did a huge deep dive on each of these like little avenues of reality TV. And it's like a 15-hour long audiobook and I started also listening to it with the intention of it being my Shrek challenge, like listen to an audiobook completely outside of the apartment. But then today I really wanted to listen to it more and like while I was getting ready and I was like, it's January, I can do that in the summertime. Like what am I even talking about? This book is so long. Like so I was trying to like be cool and edgy and be like pick a really long book so people couldn't be like, well, you didn't try hard enough, you know. Like, cool, which nobody's gonna say. But anyways, so I'm about 40% of the way through that right now and really enjoying it.
Yeah.
But I also just started another book. I'm like 8 pages in, but I'm going to tell you about it anyway. And that is Holly by Stephen King. I've had this book for a few years now. It's one of his newish ones, but it's been out for a couple of years. And I just keep not reading it. And he has a new book coming out in May called Never Flinch, I think. And that one also follows the character of Holly. Like she's in that book too. So I was like, well, wouldn't it be cool if I read a Stephen King book right when it came out? I don't know if that'll happen, but so I just thought it would be nice to kind of get ahead of that, but also because I was reading Six of Crows, and it's like, for me, I just like wasn't really that in the mood for it, so it was dragging for me just a tiny bit. Sure. And I was like, I just want to read something that I know I'll be able to like get into right away and like kind of fly through. And so I'm literally on like page 10 of this, and I'm already obsessed. So I'm really excited to be reading that right now.
All right. So, like I mentioned, we did a lot of reading when we were on our anniversary trip. I feel like people are going to ask me what Connor's reading. I forget the name of it. It's a sci-fi book. It's like Saving Phoebus? Oh. Does that sound real?
I don't know. It sounds like it could be real, and I just have never heard of it.
Oh, I found it. It's called Consider Phlebas.
Oh,
by
close.
Ian M. Banks. And it is The War Raged Across the Galaxy. Oh. And it's something about AI. And he's liking it. Cool. So that's cool. He hates the names in it, though. I'll say that right now. He's like, these names are really impossible to remember. And like, his favorite book is Dune. And I always think it's so funny because the names in Dune are like, Paul. It's a sci-fi world set thousands of years in the future. And the main character is Paul.
And his mom is Jessica. I know, me and Rebecca and Julie were just talking about that the other day. We were like, Jessica, why?
I think it's fantastic though, because even though it's goofy, you do remember the names really easily.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, exactly.
Whereas he's like, one of the names in the book he's currently reading starts with an apostrophe.
Oh,
and he's like, come on.
That's tough.
But yeah, so he's reading that, his next sci-fi, and I was making a lot of progress on Samurai William.
Nice.
It's fantastic. So he just got to Japan. He's been there for like 2 years now, and it was really dicey for a while. Let me tell you, the voyage to Japan couldn't have been worse. Like, it was a complete and utter disaster in every single possible way imaginable. And it was just unbelievable to think. Like, I was saying this to Connor. I was like, if anyone in the modern era went through an experience like that, they would be, like, written about forever. And, like, they would be a hero of our modern civilization, memoirs, movies, like, everything would happen. This is just what sailors were doing all of the time.
Yeah.
They were just, like, going on these insane voyages. The trauma of seeing, like, you start with 100 men. By the time they get to Japan, it's 12 guys. You've just seen everyone you know and have bonded with and have lived on a tiny ship for 2 years, and you just have to keep chucking their bodies over the side of the... It's insane!
Yeah.
It's insane. It's so fascinating. So they finally made it to Japan. And as you can imagine, like, the Japanese were not like, come ashore, you can be our friends. They were like, no, what are you doing? Who are you? Why are you here? What do you want? And then there's a lot of Portuguese missionaries there. And they're really trying to spread Christianity in Japan. And they don't like Samurai Williams and his guys because they're all Protestants, and they're like, we need to eliminate these guys. And so the Portuguese are trying to make the Japanese kill everyone here and like execute them as strangers. Meanwhile, they're like, we're literally dying on this boat. We need food, we need water. And so basically they are then imprisoned for a while, and it's like really bad. But then thankfully, William Adams is a very competent pilot and like knows a lot about shipbuilding and about the world, like maps and stuff. And so he becomes very valuable to the guy who's in charge of this zone of Japan. Cool. And it's like, again, I'm so excited to watch Shogun because I can imagine... I'm just imagining all these scenes in my head. I don't even think I've watched the trailer for Shogun. I'm trying to stay away from it. But like, basically, the guy, the military leader there, he's like, I need you to build me a boat, because the Japanese at this time had really nice pleasure boats, like for sailing around, but really they were not doing well with having boats that could cross the ocean.
Oh, okay.
And this was one of the reasons why William Adams is going to survive, because he actually has the knowledge to teach him how to do this. And so he's like, build me a boat. I want a boat that I can take to the Philippines or Mexico. And William Adams is like, never built a boat before. Like, just because I know about boats doesn't mean I've built one with my own hands.
Yeah.
And the guy's like, okay, well, I could kill you. And he's like, I'm going to build you the best boat you've ever seen, man. And so him and his buddies build a boat, and it's awesome. And then he's like, okay, this was good. Build me a bigger boat. And he's like, ah. And so they build a bigger boat, and it does prove itself. It makes it all the way to Mexico and back, which is awesome. But anyways, it's just so exhilarating. It's such a fascinating and wonderful and interesting thing to learn about. Like, it's it's just, every page I'm just like, how is this possible? How did this happen?
That's such an epic first boat book for you to read this year.
Totally.
What a great place to start.
I totally agree. I'm loving it so much. And yeah, he's I think very soon he's going to marry this Japanese woman that he loves. And he has a wife already.
Oh no.
Well, it's kind of not his fault. Basically, he has it is his fault, obviously. He's consenting adult, but he has a wife in England and a daughter. And he writes about them often. He's like, I need to get back to them. I miss them. I feel bad that I'm over here. The leader will not let him leave Japan. Like, he's basically imprisoned in Japan. Okay. And so he's a little bit having to just restart his life.
Yeah. Because like, what if he can never go back?
He can never go back.
Right.
I don't think he does ever go. He dies in Japan. He's buried in Japan. So I don't think he does ever go back. And so he's fallen in love with a woman there. He's been there for years. Like, and imagine, I was saying this to Connor. I was like, imagine you spent 2 years sailing to Japan, and that entire and dying. Everyone's dying. Everything's horrible. You're hungry. You're emaciated. Whatever. You finally get there, and you're thinking, I have to do that to get back. Like, dude, I have to spend 2 years doing that again, watching everyone die, hopefully not dying myself,
right?
And to get back home,
it's
just crazy. Anyway, it's fascinating. Well, he has probably the first mixed race Caucasian and Japanese children that are known of, and I'm very curious to read about that. That's gonna be fascinating. Anyways, there I go again, off on another
you just love that book.
Moment. I just love that book. Okay, but I also started a new audiobook, and you're gonna be jealous of this, Raylene.
Okay, I usually am.
Tiny Beautiful Things.
Oh, how dare you!
I know.
I That's good.
It's amazing. Have you listened to the audio version?
No.
Me neither. I read this book. I don't know if I've read it once or twice. For some reason, I feel like I've read it twice. But anyways, it doesn't matter. Everyone on the pod, if you've been listening for a while or not, you should know Raylene and I love Tiny Beautiful Things.
Yeah.
We love Cheryl Strayed. A couple years ago, we buddy read Wild.
Yeah, amazing.
Just love Cheryl. And Tiny Beautiful Things is the kind of one that launched it off, because I read it and then recommended it, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
I've been meaning to reread it for a while. A couple of days ago, I picked up the book and I started flipping through it and reading it, and I was like, God, this is so good. But I just wasn't compelled enough.
Right.
And then I was like, wait, is it an audiobook? Does she read it? She does read it.
Perfect.
It's amazing. I'm loving it. And it's a perfect way to reread this book, because it gives it a little bit of a fresher, it feels a little different. Last time I read it, now I'm listening to it, so it's a little bit new, it's a little bit different. But Cheryl Strayed is such a great narrator, and you can just feel her advice really coming through from her own voice. It's just wonderful. So,
the format is really good for an audiobook.
Yes, exactly. So I'm really, really enjoying it. And when you're finished, the audiobook you're listening to sounds really good as well. Yeah. But when you're finished that one, maybe you got to do this one.
I might just have to. Yeah, that's actually something I was thinking about recently too. I think all the audiobooks I listen to this year will have to be nonfiction. I think I'm quitting fiction audiobooks, because they just don't always hit as well.
I've ever listened to
talked
audiobooks
about this a bit, but I find
it really hard to follow.
Yeah, I think I want to just stick with nonfiction, and then that's a good way for me to read a lot more nonfiction, because I don't often pick them up in physical form. But we'll see.
Fascinating. All right, we have some time to visit the mailroom. All right. I pulled a couple comments from YouTube land. Okay. There was some funny. We talked last week about Jenna.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of comments about Jenna.
Jenna, what does the sticker say again? A Jenna book club?
Read with Jenna or something like
Read
that?
Read with Jenna, that's right. And we were talking about how there's a lot of books that have this Jenna sticker on them that you can't take off. It's not that we're mad at Jenna, it's that we're mad at the fact that you can't take the sticker off of the book.
It's built into the cover. It's awful.
It's unbelievable. But there were so many funny comments about Jenna. And I just pulled two. Katie says, honestly, I'm American, and I also don't know who Jenna is. Just the lady who haunts my books. And it's true. But then we did get quite a few people telling us who Jenna is.
Yeah, now I know.
So here's a comment from Amy Lane Thomas. Hi, Jenna equals Jenna Bush Hager. She's a journalist and the daughter of former American President George Bush. She has a book club, hence the stickers. Fascinating.
Yeah. I never would have guessed. That the lore went that deep.
No. Okay, and then at Puff Maggie, I just pulled this comment for myself. She said, this episode was so fun and made me laugh so much. Ariel, if you're ever back in Lisbon, I super recommend visiting the Lisbon Maritime Museum. Ooh. It has so much about the early days of navigating, and it's so educational, and your love for Samurai William makes me believe that you'd love that museum and that history. I went last year and stopped and read every single description in the exhibition because it's so cool, and they have it both in English and Portuguese text, which is so handy.
That's awesome.
So that was really a cool recommendation. I don't know if I'll ever find myself in Lisbon again, but I live in Nova Scotia, and there are a lot of maritime museums here that I've never been to.
Oh,
and,
perfect.
You know, I've been to lots of other types of museums, but now that I'm learning all about boats, I think it'd be really fun to visit some. So this really kind of encouraged me to go check out some museums, which would be a lot of fun.
Okay, new challenge for 2025, visit every single maritime museum in Nova Scotia.
Okay, so what is there, like 43 bookshops? I'm sure there's like 140
really?
maritime museums.
Every
many? Little town has a maritime museum of some type.
That's funny.
Yeah, that's awesome. But yeah, okay, what did you find, Ray?
Okay, I've got a couple of good ones here. So Autumn says, joined Patreon again for this early access. I just couldn't wait. Bad economic decision, but really worth it. I just wanted to share that as a little ad for our Patreon. Thank you,
Love
Autumn.
That. Love that.
Making bad decisions, but for good reasons. Okay. Sarah says, it's so funny listening to Raylene talking about Six of Crows and knowing exactly what moment she's referencing. Because as you remember, I talked about kind of a juicy moment that I was surprised by last week. There was a bunch of people that were commenting that, so that was fun.
And now it's your least favorite book of all time.
That really turned me off. That gore, I just couldn't handle it. So now I'm reading Stephen King instead, of course. This next comment is from Han George, who says, Annihilation the movie isn't super actiony at all. Gosh darn trailers! So
interesting.
You should tell Connor that.
I'll let Connor know.
Yeah. Rhoda says, I've never heard of curling. Paused the episode to do my homework, and I still don't know what curling is. I'm intrigued.
That's really funny.
Curling is pretty mysterious.
It's 2 teams, and I believe they're made up of 4 members each. And basically, you have a really long but thin sheet of ice. On one side, or on either side, there's a bullseye. And it's similar to any bullseye-related game, darts, archery, what have you, where you're trying to get a thing as close as possible to the middle. But in this case, you have this very long sheet of ice. You're on one side of it, and the curling stones are these massive polished rocks with a handle on the top. Mm-hmm. And a person will push off in the legal way that they're allowed to do so within the bounds of the game. They will push off and release the stone. 2 of their teammates will then chase the stone with little brooms, and they will melt the ice with friction to slightly curve the stone to get it hopefully closer to that center. And that's what curling is.
I've always thought curling was such a funny little sport. And you explaining it just now made me, that really reinforced that. It is a funny little sport. I would like to try it though. I feel like it's probably a lot harder than it looks. And that's why it's like, seems kind of goofy, but
My brother CJ, who edits the pod, has been like angling for us to try curling, and I think it's such a great idea because I think it would be really fun. It's one of those sports where like, oh my, I was actually talking to some, my friend just tried curling. I was talking to another member of that curling team, and she was saying how much she loves curling because she's like, my dad does curling, and when they do it, they play in the mornings and they stop halfway.
Yeah.
And they all have a tea and coffee break.
Aww.
And then they go and keep playing curling. And I'm like, that's amazing.
That's my kind of sport right there.
Exactly. That's my kind of sport.
That's wonderful. Awesome. Well, I just had one last comment. This one is from Olivia, who says, Raylene and I have the same core memory, except mine was at a Shania Twain concert. I still have the t-shirt because I talked about my falling asleep at a Britney Spears concert when I was 5. So I thought that's so very cute. I also loved Shania Twain as a kid. Just putting that out there.
Yeah. Incredible. Well, thank you guys so much for listening or watching this episode. We are now going to go and record our Patreon special mini podcast. It isn't so many anymore because we used to do like 5-10 minute long things. Now we're doing like a 20-30 minute long extravaganza. And we're basically, it's video now as well, but we're basically upgrading this. It used to be Movie Tub, where we would talk about the movies and sometimes the shows that we've been watching. We're rebranding it to Media Tub, where we will be reviewing movies, shows, podcasts, music, and video games that we've been watching and enjoying. So it's basically like a monthly roundup of all the other stuff we've been consuming this month that isn't just books. So we're really excited to go record that. And yeah, thank you guys so much for watching, listening, and we'll talk to you next week. Bye. Bye.